Hi, everybody. I'm Holly Celiano, and I am here with John Dowling. Hello, John.
Hello, my dear. How are you, Holly?
Very good. So it's been a very exciting weekend with Trump having his crypto ball and doing his rally, and then the inauguration yesterday.
Mhm.
So a lot of very positive forward movement of things we are all waiting for because we all want to heal and get better as not only a nation, but as a world at large.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
this is a great sign that we have finally tipped the scales to start healing and getting the world and the United States back on track where we need to be.
Absolutely. And I don't know about you, Holly, but I'm still kind of emotionally reeling from the overstimulus of information all through last night with the executive orders and all that
Yes.
we're talking about. It was just like, I know what they mean now, drip, drip, flood.
Yes. Well, I believe we're going to be on a flood of information, a flurry of information, starting from yesterday, going forward for the first 100 days of his
Mhm.
administration. It's going to be rapid fire. Um, People are having a hard time with some of his executive orders. Those that aren't true Trump fans, I'm seeing a lot of meltdown with some of the things he's doing. Um, but again, we have to let the dust settle and see how all of this is part of the greater plan because there's so many things behind having these executive orders. It's not like he just yesterday decided to, make them up and
Mhm.
sign them. They've been in the works for a long time. So his team has carefully planned out what they're going to implement and why they're implementing it and how everything works together.
Yeah, I mean, I think you summarized it quite well. Before we get started, Holly, I just want to take a moment to thank you because I know some of our audience kind of has overrub and crossover and whatnot. But I've always appreciated the calm cogency of your information because I try to do that the best I can with our audience of staying grounded and not being too high or too low. And I want to compliment you because I think you do a really exemplary job of towing the line of honesty, but doing it in a controlled manner that helps the frequency of thought reach the right people and get the information in a way that they can receive it without going too high or too low.
Thank you. But I've tried to pride myself all these years in not being a hopium provider
Mm-hmm.
because that's a dangerous place to be. And giving enough information without burning any of my sources by giving too much information and towing that line really carefully. But giving people encouragement that yes, this is going to happen. The date has always been an unknown.
Sure.
And it still is unknown. We
Mm-hmm.
don't, people have been blowing me up since yesterday. Okay, he's in. Now, where's the announcement? And it's like, we're not there yet, everybody. Like, we still have things that have to be put in place. Like, we still have the USN needs to come out.
Mm-hmm.
That has not been released yet. And from what I understand, is Iraq will not move forward until they see that. Like they're holding the US to that to make their promise that they're going to come out with that. So they're waiting to see what we do. And I believe now that Trump is in office, we'll see that. We need platforms and the historical bonds released and then the adjudicated. We still have not gotten that yet. So, everybody that thinks, okay, he's inaugurated, where is it?
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen that swiftly. Do you concur?
Yeah, I think it's a process. I think, Holly, I hate that word, but I know a lot of people like that word, I should say. But for lack of a better word, I think that's just what it is. It's a process. You sort of articulated a second ago. I think we're going to your point earlier, I think we're going to start seeing it more precipitously rather than this old internet lagging
Mm.
speed. It's going to be now more of just like being shot out of a pipeline, was what I've always said in the past. But yeah, I think that now that he's in and he's getting all the people in, we're going to show you some articles in a minute that kind of testify that. I think that we're going to start seeing it, quickly is a relative term, but I think in comparison to the past, it's going to be rapid fire at this point.
It's very exciting to see what's going to happen in our world transforming because I feel like the past 4 years, we've just been in this holding pattern.
Mm-hmm.
There's been really no forward movement, really, for the RV. I mean, they're doing things behind the scenes, but it was never going to be released, as we could tell now, under the Biden administration. They were waiting for Trump to come back, and sadly, 4 years ago, we didn't know that it had to wait on this watch. So it's been painful for 4 years waiting for this. I mean, I've been in this almost close to 15 years. I know you're a long time
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Yeah.
And it's just been painful. Those that are in it long term, waiting.
Well, as I've said to you before, Holly, offline, the way I describe it as an analogy, and as a mother, you can certainly empathize and relate, is I look at this whole process as like a pregnancy, giving birth.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of false starts and stops, and you think it's going to happen, and then it's delay and this and that. And the hard part of that is, and we all go through it, and you and I, as leaders in this, have um, we have an equally tough time as the audience, but more so because we have to like absorb that and then still manage those emotions where other people can feel it more raw, right? It's a more natural flow for them where we have to sort of control that, right? And even we feel it like people do as well, but again, we have to manage it for the people watching. And it has been a gear grinding, process. But the good thing is we're here now, and
Yeah,
the old expression, the victor go the spoils. You've got to
yeah.
go through some things to get to the finish line. And so I think a lot of people will say to us, when I say us, I mean collectively everybody who's in it. Our families, how did you do this, or how did you do it, or why did you get this, or why did you get that? And I've already got thoughts process ramped up to go because I did what you wouldn't do, and I wouldn't where you wouldn't go. And by the
Mhm.
grace of God, go us.
Yes. And you know what? It's not for the faint of heart. It's somebody has to have tenacity and the grit to stay in it and go through it and not become emotional. Because if you're emotionally involved in this, it'll do you in. Like my
Yeah.
emotions are just left at the door. I do not have any emotional energy into the ups and downs of this.
Mhm. You said an interesting thought, Holly, amongst the many to me one time offline, if I recall, several months ago. Uh, you and I were talking about this, of course, and I said to you something to the effect of, are you going to be excited when it happens? When it's at the door in the natural. And I think you said something to the effect of, not really, because we've been anticipating it for so long. It's like it was inevitable, and
Yeah,
now here it is.
right. Like years ago when I first got involved, oh my God, I thought it was going to happen. And I was like, oh my gosh. And
Yeah,
now it's like, it's so like I've already been living in the RV. Like
yeah.
I already know what it's going to feel like and be like. And it's lost its excitement to me. It's just, I'm ready to move on with my life as I know you are.
Oh yeah. Like a pregnancy, once again, same,
Yeah. It's
you're
like,
ready
okay,
to
let's,
get over with.
yes,
And
exactly.
and enjoy the joy and forget the pain, which I think is key. Now, I'm
Yes.
curious to get your thoughts on this, Holly. My perspective on this is all the plans and amendments and things that we've all been planning for post RV in terms of, buying a house, moving, relocating, kingdom/humanitarian projects, whatever, all those things that we had on the sidelines. I think the good news is now we can start to reignite those and get those into
Mhm.
position. Would that be a fair statement to you?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I will, and I've said this before, and you've probably heard me. Everybody needs to take a break and just go and just absorb what's happened, absorb that we're on the other side of this.
Mhm.
Go on a vacation. Like, don't go out of the gate running because I think everybody needs to really take it all in what you've been through and just have some healing time for yourself before you engage in projects.
1,000%. That's really underrated advice to me, Holly. I think you pace yourself is what I hear you saying. Uh,
Absolutely.
after I get rid of debts or they're just summarily removed, which we know what's coming with Nasara, I'm in the process. I'll be in the process of relocating. But once I do that, I'm going to immediately first order of business is take a vacation and just rejuvenate and heal and
Yes.
reset the mind before you, like you said, hit the
Yes.
ground running.
Absolutely. So, one thing that Trump said yesterday
Mm,
is this is the golden age of America.
yep.
And that we've been waiting to hear those words. And that is so telling to me for where we're headed and what's coming. And for him to come right out from the gate with that, I mean, it started yesterday. That's what he says. The golden age of America starts today. And then another thing that was really interesting, he said, is today is Liberation Day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that to me, like you can feel like the shackles just kind of come off of you when you say Liberation Day. Like the Liberation Day as a nation
Mm-hmm.
is huge.
Yeah. He also said, Holly, during his inauguration speech, I'm sure you caught the subtleties, restore the republic.
Yes.
And did you watch the executive orders last night with the press?
I didn't watch all of them. I did see some of them.
Well, he said bricks 7 or 8 times. He
Hmm.
talked about bricks seven, and usually, when he repeats a phrase or refrain, that's significant. When you do it that much, to me, that was like a letting us know, hey, this is coming into focus now.
Well, somebody had told me today, I don't have the exact quote, but he made a statement about BRICS will not go and do away with like the US dollar as their backing
Uh huh.
or as being the strong point
Right.
in the world.
Right.
So people are like, well, what does that mean? You know, is that good? Is that's a bad thing? And I've asked contacts about that. I believe it's because we are headed into the golden age. We will have our currency will be backed
Mhm.
by gold and precious metals and assets. So we will still be a superpower with our our currency, with our money in the world arena. So he's laying the groundwork. He doesn't want the US dollar to be just, swept aside because if we don't come out with a asset gold backed money, then nobody wants the fiat dollar. So he's kind of putting everybody on notice.
He is, but I also think he's talking in double entendres too, Holly, because people need to ask themselves when they say that statement to you, which dollar are we talking about? We're talking about the Federal Reserve dollar or the US note. I think he was talking about the Federal Reserve dollar will be done away with because he
Yes.
doesn't want, he's always said level playing field. So
Hmm.
you would have a paradoxical statement if you said, well, you're going to give you a level playing field to the world, but I'm going to hamstring you with the dollar. Those two can't exist in a space. So I think
Correct.
he was referring to I'm going to remove the Federal Reserve note, and
Yeah.
then free up my dollar to be an actual gold backed dollar, which I'll show you in a minute, uh, while liberating, playing off that word, the rest of the world so that they can nationalize. I think there was kind of a duality there.
Hmm. And I don't know if you caught him in, I believe it was his rally on Sunday, where he said, I can, through cryptocurrency, just wipe away 35 trillion in debt.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he came out with the Trump coin this weekend,
Yep.
which started at $9 and went to 74 and dropped down. And then Melania had her coin. So they definitely are very big on the crypto.
They
So,
are. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so then leading into XRP, XLM, um, that all should start to go up because that is what the whole new blockchain technology is built on, those. So we're still waiting to see
Excuse
hit
me.
over $3 as of last week and been maintaining over $3, but still waiting for it to go much higher.
You, sorry to jump the gun. You read my mind. That's where I was headed with XRP, because I don't know if you saw that meme of the Simpsons, that the posting of the Simpsons had. I don't know how recently that was, probably years off in the back frame of things. They put out a show and they put out a meme where they predicted XRP would be over $100,000. So
Yes, I saw that, but so we're only on episode 36, and that they're saying was episode 39.
hmm,
So we haven't even had that episode yet.
gotcha.
So we have to be careful that, people put stuff out that's trying to hype things up. But I do predict at one point it will be there.
Well, I think the point, yeah, absolutely. I think the point, whether it's, I don't know if it'll be this year or next year, but whatever. But the point is just, stack up what you can over time and use some of your profits from the currencies and such to just leverage, like you said, XRP, XLM, XTC. But I think it's telling that XRP will be the new Bitcoin and supplant it and actually be in tangible tokenized assets. So it's just
Mhm.
encouraging that we're in the right place or the right spot at the right time.
Yes, absolutely. So you had articles you wanted to show?
Yeah, sure. So I'm gonna try to do this all in one shot, Holly, if I can. If not, I'll just have to go, one at a time here.
Okay.
So you'll have to bear with me a second. Let me see if I can do this and get over to this. Okay, can you see this with the CBI?
Yes.
Okay, good. So it actually worked. So first time out of the gate. So this came out yesterday, but I thought it was significant. I had this on a podcast with somebody else the other day, and I thought it bear repeating. You may get this question a lot, and I get it from time to time. And every time I've gone on with Nick, this comes up seemingly every podcast, which is he always says, well, what if Iraq or other currencies from other countries replace their notes with new notes? Then what do we do? And I was never concerned about it. Thankfully, this article vindicates that. So as of yesterday, Fox News is reporting they've revealed security features of the new banknotes to raise awareness with the public, the banks, sophistication of the banknotes in terms of security features, printed on premium paper. And it's to help people who are visually impaired or blind altogether. So it's kind of, I think, a form of Braille a little bit to help, kind of get ahead of that. But here's what excited me. If you see where my cursor is, the new banknotes will circulate alongside the existing ones. And here's the key: with no plans to withdraw the older currency from circulation. So that's nice because that puts that issue of a concern to rest for, I think, a lot of people. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to try to do this, like I said, in the next one, so I can kind of go seamless one to the next. Let me see if you can you see this one with Whiplash?
Yes.
Oh,
Mhm.
good. Oh my God, it's working. 2 for 2. Okay, that doesn't always go that way. Been informed, this is out today, been informed the stock market collapses next Friday or Saturday. All posts are saying January 31st to February 1st for this reason. Now, you'll recall, Holly, last night, President Trump was asked about why he withdrew from the WHO and when that would take
Mhm.
effect, and he said February 1st. Now, I know those seem like two separate, mutually exclusive things, but the way I read it, I look into this with this date, I don't think they are. I think that there is a correlation to this. He has to kill the old system. So there is going to have to be some type of, dip and leveling down before he smoothly lands the plane, right? I mean, you can't just seamlessly transition these two systems. And he has to make it look like he was the hero that engineered the crossover, right? He and the team. So that's kind of at least our interpretation of it, if you will. Let me see if I can do this other one here. Hold on a second. This is regarding some of the executive orders. This has to do with Doge. So you were talking earlier about the ambitious, aggressive 100-day plan, right? And here you
Mhm.
go with the Doge agenda, with the agency head Doge structure. They're going to cut, I think, per NASARA, 80 to 90% of the worthless government, right? Bring in, true leaders there. Trump's already started
Mhm.
to do hiring freezes. So you're starting to see the narrative build. And what's nice is you can go in the White House and start to see all the executive orders that have already been put in place. One of the other ones, Holly, is a good segue, is This one, I didn't see it last night. I was a little disappointed because I was like, oh, I was expecting him to bring this up. We had heard of the, I don't know if it was 100 to 200, what the exact number was, but in that range of the executive orders, he was supposed to sign some crypto regulations, to your earlier point, as well as address the dinar. And so this came up today, which was a blessing. Rumor alert: Trump to sign 3 crypto related executive orders today. You see that Gary Gensler did officially optically step down.
Mhm.
You see that the SEC is going to pretty much drop the appeal, which will set XRP free here. As I said to you before, and as a disclaimer, just like you, not a financial advisor, not constitutes financial advice, just giving what we believe to be good, cogent information to use for your discernmental authority. We're watching to see XRP maybe hit 5, then that 10 to 15 to $30 range once it goes rather quickly, once some of the, as you said, proverbial chains are removed. Let's see what else I have to show you here. This is unrelated, but I wanted to ask you about it because it falls into the Nasara Jasara bucket. Val Thor posted this: wonder if illegal drug prices are going through the roof. Supplies will dry up. Withdrawal epidemic, the new pandemic. Med beds to the rescue? Question mark. So I will stop there and ask you. Once we're not doing dates and rates on them, we never do that. I know, I don't do it. You don't do it. I'm just disclaiming that. Once the public does go, you and I talked about this. I think if I remember right, you had said that you thought med beds would pretty much be forthcoming. Does that still seem to be the case from what you've heard?
That's what I'm hearing from my sources that, once the release is finally given, then that also releases the med beds to start coming out. And they have them all in strategic locations, and they just are waiting for the go ahead because this is all part of the new technologies that are going to be released. And it's going to be such an exciting time. Oh my goodness, to be
Oh,
alive
yeah.
now and to witness everything that we're going to see, the technology that's been hidden that we're going to be able to have. Amazing.
To say the least. In your opinion, Holly, do you think the med beds will be released? What am I? I'm going to be careful how I ask this. Do you think they'll be released to us in this community and then be released in the World's Fair months later? How do you kind of see that playing out?
From what I've been told, those of us in the that have appointments, we will have it released to us and family members. Also, people that are very critically ill that are
Mhm.
not part of this will have it offered to them. Supposedly, they have these set up in hospitals, VA centers,
Yep.
um, ready to be when the go is given, ready to be released. So, um, and then to the general public, it will be released. It's, it, I'm sure the one that age reverses you, how they're going to be able to, explain that if everybody's not dialed in
Right.
to there's a bed you can go in and you can take, 30 years off of you and
Or
and
more.
and look younger. Um, if people aren't aware that this technology exists, it would be shocking for friends and family to show up and it's me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm having kids again or whatever, or being able to
Yeah.
have it for the first
So,
time, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
so there's got to be some disclosure. I heard the disclosures are going to start in February, and
Yeah.
that I can't wait till all of that starts coming out.
I'm glad you said that, Holly, because I just had on prior to you an hour ago, Derek Johnson, and I asked
Mhm.
him the same question because he's fairly dialed in to say the least. And he did say, we hear a lot about the EBS. He said, I want to correct it. It's the EAS. And he said the military is going to get involved with disclosures. And he was sort of hinting at the February timeframe. I asked him offline, since we only have a certain amount of time to go through all the stuff like you and I do. And he did say that as far as med beds go, that they were going to use the EAS in conjunction to build a narrative to explain to people about this technology that had been suppressed for over 100 years.
Mhm. Yeah, they have to explain it because we're dialed in. We've been reading about it for years. The average person would think you're cuckoo to say that this exists.
They would, but they also know that they've been lied to all these years. They just haven't put the pieces together. And then there's, people in our communities that will be led to galvanize that, whether it's their families, friends, the whole of their community. I think that's what they're counting on, is for the digital patriot soldiers to go out there and who want to do their part will be able to be empowered to do so.
Mhm.
You know,
It'll be exciting. I mean, to
yeah,
eradicate cancer and heart disease and, all the diseases that exist today will be,
yeah,
you know, we'll look back and say, what a barbaric community we used to live in for
right.
what they used to do.
We used to champion living only a certain amount of time, and the Bible
Yeah,
says you're not supposed to live that short of a time. People lived hundreds of years, and so on and so forth. And yeah, Alzheimer's and cleaning out the pineal gland, not to mention some of the liquid injuries that occurred. I mean, it's
right.
just, it goes on and on and on. I mean, like you said, we haven't even scratched the surface. Now,
No,
you mentioned the golden age, Holly, so I want to touch on that real quick. Bear with me a second here. This just came out today. I don't know if you saw this.
I
Excuse me.
did.
Oh, you did? Okay. Of course you did. Who am I talking to? But this is what excited me about this was the talk about the golden age, which you refer to.
Mhm.
I will try to zoom in as best I can. Judy Shelton, here we go again. She started to put out more and more publications, which makes me think that President Trump has got her in the backstop ready to come out, whether it's, I don't know, second plus quarter, who knows, right? Second, third quarter. And he's going to use her, excuse me, to reinstate the gold standard, like he was kind of optically doing in his first term when he was doing a litmus test to kind of see who his enemies were in Congress and the Senate, right? If you recall.
Mhm.
So it's exciting because she's talking about, could a 50-year bond redeemable in gold, you said bonds earlier, on America's 300th birthday point the way out of the end of fiat money? And it's a rhetorical question, but it's good that this narrative is starting to get, stronger and stronger to the public eye.
Yes. Well, you know what it is? You keep dribbling and dripping all this information for years. It's just been dribbled, dribbled, dribbled. Well, everybody eventually starts catching on. When you start seeing it enough, then it becomes something that they adopt and accept as a new reality. So it'll be very exciting where this is all going. I really can't wait. I mean, I'm just it feels like we could breathe again.
Totally. Great way to put it. As you were sharing, Holly, a thought came to mind, which is, the cabal and the Illuminati, and of course Hitler. Back in the day, they had an axiom that if you repeat a lie enough, it becomes a truth. And brainwashing, right? I think it's I don't I think the exact number. I think it was something like 8 times or something like that. Kind of like advertising with Nielsen, the billboards, which we in major cities are more than accustomed to seeing. But I thought the inverse, once they start to tell people the truth enough, then it actually can become the truth and push out the lie. So we really are, in many ways, going, backwards and forwards to, smooth out the timelines and get people on a well, again, level playing field of truth.
Right. Absolutely.
So
And that's the big thing because we don't even, what they report in the news is not true. Um, but a lot of people do believe that. There is a whole generation that grew up watching the evening news as, that was the truth.
yeah,
They would never lie to you, but they're so accustomed to whatever the news puts out is truth. But we, the truther community, have we're digital warriors where we dig deep to find information and collaborate with others and connect dots and that has been a great thing. Like the Q posts when they first started coming out in 2017. I mean, that really got everybody thinking, you know, future proves past. Everything that they've been showing pretty much has happened. We didn't think it would take till 2025.
Right, right.
We thought it would be much quicker.
Yeah, yeah. Well, God's timing is not our timing, as you know, but it's always the perfect timing. And that's the hard part. We have to reconcile against our flesh and our human expectations, but at the same time, knowing that everything happens when it's supposed to happen, even if we don't like that process, which
Correct.
we don't. But again, we're here. And that's, a lot of people, unfortunately, in our families and people's families and friends, unfortunately, didn't get to be here. So we need to
Mhm.
count ourselves blessed that we are, because we're inheriting their inheritance, if you like, through the
Yeah,
process. Now, Holly,
absolutely.
real quick, I just want to take this opportunity, if it's okay with you, for our audiences to set the record straight on something. And also, I'd like to, in the process, get your take on it, because I know you do your diligence like I do in terms of your contacts and dealing with banks and so on and so forth. Um, Somebody put out, and it's fine. We're not here to disparage anybody. We're all about building people up, not tearing them down. But one of my team members brought it to my attention that uh, somebody had said on a person's podcast that, and maybe they just misunderstood or misinterpreted. That's fine. That happens. But I'd like to bring clarity, like you do. That they said that our team was saying that you don't need an NDA or a trust to do the exchange. And I'm still sticking by that. What I was referring to, and I've always referred to, is as far as long as you and I have known each other, and even prior, is I don't get into the tier stuff, but the public exchange is what because that's what everybody collectively who's in it can get into. The private stuff I don't talk about much, because not everybody can get into it. In fact, 99% wouldn't. And that would be, as you would agree, cruel and irresponsible and unfair to talk about, to get people's hopes up dashed for something that just really isn't applicable to them, of no fault of their own. It's, for lack of a better term, a luck of the draw that people who get into it, and timing for that matter. So I've always talked about the trust and the NDA, not needing it in regards to the public placement. That's number one. Number
So
two,
when you say public placement, just for clarity, because people hear what
sure,
they want to hear, we're referring to tier 4B
4B and 5. Yeah,
and the internet,
right.
people that aren't in a private group.
Yeah, tier 4B into
Okay.
5. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying. That's right. I don't use the tier term very much, so I have to kind of go
Well,
back.
that's what most people
Sure.
in our land refer to it as. So,
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm certainly familiar with it. It's just like I said, I'm always really focusing on the public, because that's something that everybody in this realm can get access to definitively. But yes, you're right. 4B into 5. Yes. Thank you.
okay.
Thank you for clarifying. The second point, and I wanted to engage you in this part, which is the other misperception or whatever that was put out there, was that the Zim bonds will not go in the banks, and people will not be able to redeem that. That's absolutely not true. You will be able to go into the banks and do it. You've talked to them. I've talked to wealth managers, private bankers, and I've gotten clarity several times before I've released information that they have a different division in the banks for bonds than the currencies, for obvious reasons, right? We've even explained to our longtime followers about the differences between a currency and a bond, right? And so I'm not going to bore you with that, because I think your audience is well enough learned, and mine as well, for that. But anyway, we have not heard anything differently about that. So as far as,
So just for
please,
clarity on that,
sure,
because again, people hear what they want to hear.
right,
Um, banks, you're not just going to be able to walk up to a teller with a Zim note and say, "Here,
right,
I was told on a show I could just bring this and,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
redeem it." No, there would be a special division
Mhm.
within a bank that would be able to handle that.
Right.
So
Thank you. And you would make
just
an,
have to be crystal clear because,
yeah.
again, people hear what they want to hear.
No, that's absolutely right. Thank you again. for the Cogent Assist. And yes, you would make an appointment for that just for the sheer size and magnitude of said bonds.
And
Um,
if the bank cannot handle that, they would send you to a place that could.
yeah, it's a specialized division. That's exactly right.
Yes,
The
exactly.
so you're confirming that. That's great. The other question I had is because I haven't heard an update on it, and I don't know if you have, but let's find out. The last that I had heard was that you would have a 7-year managed payout because of the size of this. Has that's still the case, or has that changed?
It depends. So they are basing this on how old you are.
Mhm.
So things change, and what I'm being told is until you are there, we're not going to get all the rules of engagement of if there is a payout, if they've changed it, they're keeping things very, very under wraps on all of that.
Yeah.
It's been talked about, and it was also talked about how old you are, if you fall into the category or not. So we
Mhm.
really don't know until you're at your appointment.
Which I think is wise, and it keeps it better, it's safer for them, safer for you as well as the client. So it sounds similar to Nasara in terms of the payout based on age as well, kind of the way you're describing it.
Mhm.
So that's cool. I will add what you already know, but just because you're being very precise, I want to compliment that with you. Um, all of this, and I've said this before, but again, we're in the interest of clarity. All of this is predicated upon the return of Nelson Chamisa. He needs to be the one that comes back in because he is going to remove Mangala, who is corrupt. I am encouraged that that's based on the comms that he's putting out that I've shown you in the past and recently, that it will be sooner and later, but we don't know the exact, obviously, date that will be. But now that
Right.
President Trump is back in, it's encouraging that I would just to play it safe, I would say it's sooner than later, and it looks like it's in the not too distant future. However you want to interpret that.
And I would say all of the political maneuvers that are going on, like we're going to see Ukraine
Mhm.
instantly like taken care of.
Yeah.
We're going to see Israel and Gaza and everything going on done very fast. The
Yes.
reason being is because um, Trump's team isn't just coming in yesterday and starting negotiations. Things have been in the works for a long time, and they were
Mhm.
waiting for him to come back into office. And they all know, like, they all have marching orders. Like, people know Trump is all about business. He is not going to put up with any nonsense, and people better get in line and do what needs to be done because we're all in this together. So it's got to end. All this corruption and nonsense going on in the world needs to end, and it's ending very quickly.
Absolutely. And to your point, Holly, President Trump is going to be the one now that takes the hand of Iran off of Iraq to remove that
Mhm.
corruption. I think, like you said, Ukraine, Israel, which plays back into Iraq. I would also expect, and I wanted to get your temperature on this. I would also expect, in the midst of all that, excuse me, in the midst of all that, China, Taiwan. I was sort of
Yeah.
surprised a little bit that they're allowing him to come back in before they do this, scripted invasion that would lead to a peace deal. Would you, from what you've heard in your contacts, would that fall in line in conjunction with the rest of the corruption falling away?
Hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. The reason I ask is for clarity's sake, that involves Vietnam. So I know a lot of people
Mhm.
are concerned about that. And I wanted to tell you, interestingly enough, over the holidays, I had an interesting discussion with my cousin's mother-in-law, trying to keep it straight. We had a new addition to the family, Luca, I've shown you, and I was talking to his mother-in-law, who's from Venezuela. I said, "What part are you from?" She said, "Caracas." I said, "Okay, the capital." And I said, "I'm hearing that Maduro is obviously corrupt, that he's going to be replaced with Juan Guaido, who I had told that to people from what our knowledge base was, that he was going to be the successor of Maduro." She goes, "Oh, no, no, he's really bad. He's just as bad as Maduro. We thought he was good, but he's a turncoat." It's like, interesting. So Trump put him out there basically, play himself out, right? Reveal himself, the Sun Tzu thing, right? Never interfere with an enemy in the process of destroying themselves. So I said, well, but you guys were the fourth largest economy. You're going to come back. She goes, oh yeah, there's a woman running Maria something, or the name escapes me. I'm sure somebody who's from Venezuela will understand that. She said, we're really excited about her, coming in. And I said, I bet you Trump will get behind that and help. And she goes, yeah, I think so too. So it was an interesting sidebar.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting how all the countries just kind of fall in line really quickly, and all this war and destruction going on just goes away real fast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just time. It's just
It
time.
is time.
You
It
know,
is time.
Ecclesiastes 3, right? There's a time for war, a time for peace, and this and that. It's just that time. So
Mhm.
yeah. Any advice or counsel you can give to the audience, you think, to help them with the process?
So I know everybody's, sitting on pins and needles waiting for, okay, notifications are coming out like today.
Right.
No. Um, and any Intel provider out there that's telling you, it's happening tonight, it's happening tomorrow, please, please, please stop listening to that.
Hmm.
It's really gotten old. We will know as soon as things go, because we're dialed into
Yeah.
release codes being given, and platforms and bonds and all of that stuff adjudicated.
Hmm.
When we see USN come out, those things will give you the pulse as to where we really are. So, stop listening to the people saying it's happening today or tomorrow. We are in motion. It is moving forward. It's not going to take, years, because some people are saying, oh, I'm hearing now, not till next
No.
year.
Yeah, that's
Um, we need this done if we're going to be on the golden age of America and for the world. It needs to happen quickly, because we're going to pump all that money into the economy. That's going to make America great. So
yeah.
just sit tight. Let's see what happens. I mean, he's only been in office for one day. A lot's already happened in one day.
Yeah.
But let's see what pans out for this week and next week, and we'll have a better pulse where we're at for the temperature on seeing how quickly this will happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think in the next, let's say the 21st, I think in the next 10 days, we'll have a very good idea of timing of sequence. Because like you said, the exposure is coming in February, and you can't do that without having other things like the finances in motion. Where can people find your channel, your work?
So my room is on Telegram. It is where we go one, we go all, room two, and room four. It's the initials of that. And I have my YouTube channel and Rumble channel. And then if anybody wants to reach out to me, I am at Lady of Light on Telegram. So that's how they can find me.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Out. And also,
Oh
one
yeah,
other thing that's so important, and I keep driving this home every week, is there are people posing as Intel providers, posing as you, posing as me,
yeah,
and they are telling people that you've got to hurry up and set up your QFS ledger account.
yeah.
And then they have to do it with crypto, and the person walks them through setting this whole thing up, and go here and go there and put this here and do this. Well, guess what? All that crypto that you just put in there just went into a bogus account, and they stole it all. Anybody telling you that is just a scammer. So please stop falling for that, guys.
Mhm.
I will never, ever hit you up to tell you, and nor will you, that you need to set up a QFS ledger account.
No, no. Even when we get thoughtful donations, I mean, we appreciate it, but we never ask for it, and we certainly don't. I mean, if somebody feels led to sow a seed, that's fine, but we're not asking for it or any of that kind of stuff. And to your point, Holly, folks, please as she said, don't listen to people that are saying today, 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 tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. Stay away from dates and rates. Okay. Don't worry about that's a fear, scarcity, lack mindset thing. We always talk about on our channel. Your mindset, you can take all the action that you want, but if you don't change the supercomputer of your mindset, none of that's going to matter because you're going to lose, not, don't be scared, just be proactive. You're going to lose that wealth because you're always thinking in fear of you don't have enough and I've got to worry about the rate and contract rate. You don't. I can assure you the public you're going to get a very good rate with the public. You're not going to have to be concerned. You're going to be surprised if God can trust you. The sky's the limit. It's really that simple. So just no dates and rates stuff and don't, that's not the, get your mindset right and who you're going to bless. I think that's the better focus of concentration. And as you know, Holly, with the currencies, if anybody's looking for currencies or wants to add to the cash area position or just at least investigate, we have a good company that we work with, and we'll leave that link in the description because at some point they are going to cut off the currency auctions, which means they're going to stop the sales of currencies. And when that's done, that's done. Nobody knows when that date is, but it's a ticking time bomb and you'd rather be on the right side of it. So again, leave that link in the description. Holly, my dear, always a pleasure to collaborate with you. Thank you for being here, for your time. Have a blessed day
Thank
and we look
you.
forward to seeing you again shortly.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Take care.